Granblue Fantasy Relink has been doing fantastic. Not only has it been keeping good player numbers this far into the game's release, but we're also getting new content in just a couple of weeks or so, and in today's video I will be talking about everything we know that is coming to Granblue Fantasy Relink. So that entails the Lucilus raid and when we can expect to see it, as well as the new characters and what we already know of their kits, and how one of these new DLC characters was actually hinted at for years before Relink's release and nobody noticed. With that being said, hello everyone, my name is Dark Hero and let's get started. So Cygames has already published a roadmap showcasing what we'll be seeing in the future of Granblue Fantasy Relink. And with the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Granblue Fantasy franchise having just started and going until the March 10th, we're getting new updates on all of these news. So let's start with the Lucilus raid. We got to see a brief glimpse of that earlier this year, where shortly after starting the quest, Lucilus wipes out the entire party in an instant with his iconic move, Paradise Lost. With no level cap increase in sight, and this being a level 200 raid, we'll need to properly prepare beforehand, and seeing as Lucilus is a major antagonist in Granblue Fantasy that is also present in the fighting game, there is a lot that we know about him and we can expect to see in this quest. Lucilus is certainly going to be a powerful foe, as he's capable of launching a massive barrage of missiles with the special attack Phosphorus, but more interestingly is his move Iblis that will specifically target the person with the highest HP on the party and inflict them with skill Seal and Petrify. It'll be fun to see how this gets translated into Relink, but once Lucilus enters overdrive, he'll start casting an especially dangerous attack called Axion, that will become more powerful as he gains stacks of Evangelist Blade by performing special attacks, with just one of these stacks removing all the buffs from your entire party, 2 stacks increasing the damage dealt by that attack by 10,000, and at 3 stacks inflicting a reduced max HP debuff on the entire party. And of course we cannot forget about Paradise Lost. We'll likely see a wipe mechanic similar to that of the Evil Blackworm or Proto-Bahamut, where you need to break or take down Lucilus before you can finish casting it, otherwise it will result in an instant quest failure. One key thing that we can note from that short clip is that Lucilus does not have an elemental weakness, at least at the start of combat. You see, in the original game Lucilus himself has no element, but you can target his black wings, which do have the darkness element. And with the black wings being such a prominent part of the fight in the original game, having a separate health bar and different moveset that is focused on inflicting attack down, defense down, as well as removing any buffs you may have and cutting your SBA gauge with their dark AoE attacks, it is likely that the developers will want to incorporate them in some way into the raid in Relink. Also very important is that in the mobile game Lucilus is immune to attack down, defense down, freeze, slow and paralysis, so status effects may potentially be useless against him. We're likely going to know the concrete release date for this update in the coming week through the franchise's anniversary, but I expect the raid to drop sometime around the 10th of March, potentially even sooner. It is unknown if we'll get a new weapon to grind similar to the Terminus weapon, or if we're getting brand new sigils, but I'm sure that Cygames has got something planned to keep us grinding in the endgame. Additionally, we're going to be getting 2 new playable characters in April, which are going to be Seofon and Tweyen, 2 members of the Eternals, which is a skyfaring crew that specializes in deterring conflict through overwhelming might. A very key note here is that you will be able to unlock these characters for free, although you will have to fulfill a certain in-game requirement, which we currently do not know what it is. It's likely going to be doing the Lucilus raid, or perhaps doing a new story quest that is dropped with the update. Alternatively, however, you will be able to unlock these characters via purchase. So given this information, it is safe to assume that if someone is new to the game and they have a crewmate voucher to unlock new characters, more likely than not they will not be able to unlock them. That being said, let's go over these 2 characters, everything we know about them and what you can expect their gameplay to be in Granblue Fantasy Relink. Seofon is known for being the confident leader of the Eternals. The fearsome power he commands could shake the very heavens, but he wields them only to right the world's wrongs. and it is known that his incredible swordsmanship knows no boundaries. This description might make it sound like he will be your average melee character, but Seofon might actually have the most unique playstyle in the entire game, as he doesn't actually fight by wielding his swords. He summons and commands them to do his bidding, something akin to what we see with the Magliel boss fight. So it will be very interesting to see how this character will play out. Seofon is a wind element character whose entire kit in Granblue Fantasy is all about charging up his Ogi, aka the Skybound art gauge, as fast as possible while also boosting the charge up rate of his allies. His support skills, Star Sword Sovereign and Myriad Illusioni focus on boosting the damage of the Skybound art of Seofon and his allies, which combines quite well with the rest of his kits, as his active skills Emblema and Curio di Leone grant the entire party instant charge, which basically translates to maxing out the Skybound art, with the rest of his kit boosting the damage of the Skybound arts. Given how important they are in Granblue Fantasy Relink, we're likely not going to see it being used to this extreme, but we are most likely going to see Seofon being able to raise his allies' damage output while also charging up the SBA, and also having tons of multi-hitting abilities with the swords that he summons. And a fun little fact is that Seofon's abilities actually come in 3 different languages, those being English, Spanish and Italian. That being said, we can already tell what a big portion of Tweyen's core mechanics and kit is going to revolve around, since a lot of her mechanics in the mobile game actually translate very well into Granblue Fantasy Relink. And there's actually some footage of what you could consider a prototype for this character in Granblue Fantasy Relink. As a naturally talented huntress, her skills with the bow are peerless. As her eagle eyes can track prey far beyond the horizon, she'll be able to destroy those that wrong her in an hail of shining arrows. So as you can tell from that brief description, Tweyen is going to be the bow character for those of you that were disappointed to not see it in Granblue Fantasy Relink. However, the funny thing here is that early gameplay and screenshots of Granblue Fantasy Relink actually showed that we were going to be getting a bow character from the start, as we can see Matera, a character that is also present in Granblue Fantasy Versus, was going to be a core member of the initial cast of Granblue Fantasy Relink. It's hard to tell why exactly she ended up being cut from the cast, but given that a bow character was being designed from the very beginning, I think we can expect to see great things coming from Tweyen, especially as she is a character that is known for inflicting all kinds of debuffs on the enemies, as well as dealing big AoE damage while also being able to consistently paralyze her target. And with how important range damage is in Granblue Fantasy Relink, in addition to how powerful paralysis is, she is looking to be a valuable addition to the roster that every player would welcome into their party. Tweyen is a light element character whose support skill Dark Huntress turns all of Tweyen's normal attacks into big AoEs capable of hitting multiple enemies, while her other support skills are focused on boosting her stats based on the number of debuffs the enemy has, which is going to combo nicely with her skill Depravity that allows her to inflict the enemy with a huge list of debuffs, including attack down, defense down, poison, burn, paralysis, and even more debuffs that aren't yet present in Relink. And with the skill to Crown Strife being able to extend the time of all of these debuffs while also dealing even more damage, I can already picture this character doing some crazy things by stun locking a boss with paralysis and slow near permanently. And if that wasn't enough, she also has the skill Merculite, which on top of granting a buff akin to Mirror Image, which allows everyone to be able to dodge an attack, she is also able to boost the entire party's attack and also raise their damage cap. With how important damage cap is, I don't think we would see that particular aspect of her kit, but if the developers actually implement it into the game, she's going to be insanely good. And to further complement her support skills, Tweyen is able to use the skill Clincher, which will deal big light damage to a single foe based on the number of debuffs they have, and can also inflict them with a unique debuff called Pinpoint Prey, where they will take more damage from Tweyen, similarly to how the Zeta debuff works. I'm very excited for these two characters. Sadly, we don't know what is coming in May, but we do know that there is one more update on the roadmap at the very least. But one thing that we do know is that all of these updates will also include paid DLC. What it actually entails is very hard to tell right now, but given the nature of the game, I think it is safe for us to expect to see even more color options for all of the characters, as well as some actual skins, as currently the only characters that are able to change their actual models are either the captain, which has 2 different outfits, or Siegfried, that is capable of removing his helmet or removing the visor. Many of these characters have actually seen outfits in the fighting games such as Narmaya, Katalina and Zeta, and with how successful that game is, I'm sure they've been able to sell a ton of those outfits, so I would totally expect to see that in Relink. And speaking of Granblue Fantasy Versus, the collaboration between the fighting game and Nier Automata was just released, so players can now actually play as 2B. And given Granblue Fantasy's long history of doing collaborations with huge franchises such as One Piece, My Hero Academia, and Jujutsu Kaisen, there is a slight chance that we might see a collaboration between Relink and one of those titles. So having said that, which one would you like to see the most? You can of course expect to see me making videos and guides about the Lucilus raid, as well as my recommended builds for Tweyen and Seofon as soon as they are released, so if you are excited for the future content of Granblue Fantasy Relink, please subscribe for more. With that being said, my name is Dark Hero, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, happy hunting!